Welcome, Connected Yoga Teachers. This is our episode all about increasing your class size, your yoga class sizes, and student numbers. My name is Shannon Crow. I'm the host of the Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook Live show, and we've been doing this now for a full month. We did all of January, and this is our first show for February. I just wanted to give a little, before we get started in today's topic, I wanted to dive into a bit of an update for the podcast. So this is where this show started, the Facebook Live. I wanted to build some awareness of who I am and what I do. I'm a yoga teacher, and I'm also a consultant for teachers and studios. And I like to help teachers so that it makes life easier for them to share their yoga. So that's the whole drive behind the podcast, the Facebook Live, and a lot of the work that I do on my website. So the podcast, you're all invited to the launch party, which is on Saturday, March the 4th at 10 a.m. Hello and welcome, everyone. So for sure, dive into our live podcast launch party. You can join from anywhere. I know it'd be great to see you there. I'm going to be giving away prizes. I'm going to be showing kind of how I put a podcast together, some of the tools that I use, and a lot of the things that I've learned. I'll definitely be answering questions about anything, so anything yoga related, or if you have questions about how to start a podcast, I could try and help you in our little launch party answer those questions. But it's just a time to kind of gather, no matter where we are in the world, and celebrate together. So I'm excited about that. So again, that's March the 4th at 10 a.m. and you are invited. And if you want to reply to the event or share it with other yoga teachers or podcasters, I would be thrilled. It's on the Connected Yoga Teacher, or send me a little note and I will send it to you. So today, we're going to talk about defining your ideal. We're going to talk about your increasing yoga class size, and the first way to do that is to define what the ideal class size is for you. So if some of you already know, you can type in the comments, because we're Facebook Live today, what is your ideal class size? And to give some perspective to this, let's start to think, do we really love to teach a group of students? After graduating 200 hour, that's typically what we're used to doing, is teaching to a group. Or do you like to teach to a small intimate group, like 6 students or less? It's kind of my idea of a private group class. Or do you really love to teach one-on-one with people? So that's a great question. It kind of throws us off in a different direction, but it's important to look at first. So define what works best for you. So if you love the energy of a big group class, and that's really what you're going for, then you're going to love some of the tools that we get into today. In my own experience, I've had really low class numbers in the past. Especially when I first started out as a yoga teacher 10 years ago. So sometimes I would go to class and there would be no one there. And sometimes I would go to class and there would just be one student. And I slowly learned some tricks along the way to improve my class numbers. And that's what I'm really excited to share with you guys today. And I think it's important to know, so as an example now, I know that on Tuesdays I teach yoga in One Sound. I teach at 2 different locations. I teach at Proactive Physio Plus, a physiotherapy office. And then I also teach at Tone Yoga Studio, and I teach group classes there. So 2 totally different things. And the one-on-one work that I do is really important to me, and so is the group class in this community. So I know that I want to be doing them both, but I'm very clear on class size numbers and what that means to me. Now, that said, I aim for the same hourly rate, whether it's a class of 20 people or it's a one-on-one class. So I give a lot of attention to students that I work with privately. I check in with them during the week. I do different things that I look into different yoga for them. I create a class plan. We work on homework together. So I know that my time is really worth what I'm charging in that. So that's a whole other topic, how to set your class price. But it's something to keep in mind. What is my hourly rate? And then stick with that, whether it's a big group of people, or maybe you have like this cap where you teach so many people and then you want more after a certain number. That's fine as well. But set the same hourly rate in your mind. So that's the first with that. And then when you choose that ideal class size and you choose the amount of money that you want to bring in, that brings in two really measurable goals for you. So when you set your hourly rate, again, and you set that number in your mind, then you know, have I hit that goal? Do I need to do a little bit more work? What can I do to increase those numbers? And so then once you have those goals in mind, I'd love it if you can do a little homework for this one. So defining your ideal class size, let's go one step further and define like who would be coming to that class. So for those of you teachers who are already know your students, then you're going to use names of people that you love to see showing up to your class, who are regularly there and they're just a joy to teach. For those of you who are brand new to teaching, then you're going to make up their names. And they can be anything. They can be fictional, like Sally Sunshine, and you just have in your mind that this is a really sunny person and she comes to class and she's a joy to teach. So write down as many names on that form as you have for your ideal number. So if you really think this through and you think, you know what, I just want to work one-on-one with someone, I know who it is, or I know kind of this fictitious character of who it is, then you write their name and you can even write down how much they paid, and you can write down the date. Or if you want a really full class, like say 20 people in your class or more, I want you to write it out on a sign-in sheet. So for those of you who might be needing a sign-in sheet, let me know in the comments if you do, and I will see if I can dig one up from a yoga studio that I work at and tweak it so that we could use it with our group for this. But otherwise, you can also make one up, right? Just even a quick Excel, print it off. And the key here is to print it off and have it where you can see it, so that this is your goal and you know that you want to get your class size up to that. Number 2 today is registered sessions. So this is something that I have used, and some of you might already teach drop-in classes and you think that's what I want to continue to do, is teach drop-in classes. But think of some other classes that you sign up for. So I signed up for a music class, and Sound with Tara McKenzie, and I paid. It was a registered session. I paid at the beginning, and I did not expect that I could just drop in when I felt like it. If I sign up for swimming lessons, I know that I need to go as often as I can, and if I can't go, I'm out that time, that money that I promised to the instructor. So I think that with yoga, we get into a mindset where we can just drop in, and that's the way it's been. And for some of you, I know teachers who love their drop-in classes, and I know teachers and studios that do both registered session and drop-in classes. We actually have a podcast episode all on this coming up in the spring. But you want to start to look at the pros and cons with this. There is an article that I wrote on registered sessions versus drop-ins. I'll try to remember to put the link in here for you guys. And it just kind of goes through what are the pros and cons, both sides. But for myself, I saw that my student numbers went up when I did registered sessions. And I honestly did this as kind of a fluke. So in this past summer, I wanted to know that if I was showing up to teach, I had at least 6 students that were showing up to practice. So I put it out there, I did a Facebook event, I did a poster, and I did an email out to my students and let them know that without the minimum of 6, it wouldn't run. And 18 people registered in the summer. So this is usually my slowest time, and it was one of my biggest classes. I really put the intention out there that I wasn't going to run it unless I had enough people show up. So, and that also gives a little prompt to yoga teachers. So if you're a studio manager and you see that your numbers are really low, if you ask teachers, you know what, can you run a registered session for this? You'll see that teachers will advertise it a little bit more. So you can try this with yourself. And if you're not into registered sessions, that's okay. I'm sure that I have a huge list of 20 things total. So there's 19 other ways that you can increase your class numbers. So my action for number 2, registered sessions, is to just try it. If you do a drop-in class, can you switch into a registered session? Or can you add a registered session and see if you can get it going? The way we do this at Tone Studio and Sound is we run registered sessions with the month. So and teachers set their own minimum. It might be 2 people, it might be 6. Some teachers have set it at 10. And so if people don't show up at that first class enough to run it, then the session doesn't run. But you can do it in different ways. Number 3 to increase your yoga class size is advertise. So it's kind of like if I went back into the forest and I was shouting out like, I have this podcast and you should really listen to my podcast, and I was just kind of yelling out in the middle of nowhere. No one would hear me. It wouldn't be happening. The advertising wouldn't be happening. So it can be really scary to put yourself out there, and I know this so well. So with the podcast, I had planned on launching it in September of 2016, and it will not be launched until March of 2017. And a huge part of that was fear of putting myself out there, and what would people think, and how would people react. And I finally got to this place where what I wanted to share became more, it had a louder voice than my fear. So, and not every day. So I still have that fear come up, but I still really want to share, and I'm getting feedback also from teachers that they're really responding well to it. So it might be the same way with you. Imagine that you have amazing gifts to offer to your students, and you can really help them in specific ways that are unique to you. And if you're not putting word out there and advertising, they can't know about it, and they can't improve their lives. So yeah, we kind of have to let go of the fear of selling what you're offering. Even when we connect it with a spirituality practice, and it's very sacred practice, it's very important also to be able to offer this out to people. Okay, so social media is great. You guys are all on here on Facebook, and that is a fantastic way. I know a lot of teachers advertise on Facebook, but you can pick anything that works for you. Instagram, Periscope, I don't know. I'm not on Snapchat that much, and I don't see like yoga advertisements on there, but find what works for you. So it also might be a radio advertisement, newspaper. There's lots of ways to advertise. Posters. We talked last week in the live video about posters. So if you want to go back and watch that, how to make a basic poster, and I have a poster template as well to give away on there that you can use and modify. If you do go on to use the poster template, it's great if you can save a copy of it. Just because unless I haven't figured it out properly, Canva then changes the original when I give out the link to everyone. So if someone knows a different way that I should be sharing it, let me know. Otherwise, I don't think there is one. And then figure out where your students are already going. So if you're doing a Baby and Me class and you really want to advertise a Baby and Me class, a great place to go and advertise that is then where new parents are showing up. So maybe they're going to a doctor's appointment, maybe they go to a baby group already, something at the health unit, or just find out where those parents are going. Make sure that you always check that you can put a poster up as well. So this one, number 3, so we've gone through 1, define your ideal class size, 2, registered sessions, this is 3, advertise, and the action for this one would be to create a Facebook event. So if you're not sure how to do that, reach out and find someone who can help you with that. I'm happy to walk people through that in a consultation call. But it's pretty easy to make a Facebook event. Facebook's pretty good at guiding you through. You might want to make sure that you make it on your business page, if you have one, that it's connected with your business page. You can even see how the Connected Yoga Teacher events are for our Facebook Live videos. Okay, number 4 is inclusive classes. I was a little stuck on the wording on this one. So what I have done is I feel like I've empowered students to modify poses, to choose not to do poses in classes, and that I really teach to the bodies that are showing up in my classes, or that I really connect with. I have a philosophy that all bodies are unique, and that we all have certain challenges in our bodies, and I try and teach to who's showing up. Now, I didn't always do this. I used to teach a style of yoga and I was a style of teacher where I would have my class all planned out and say we were going to be doing some really wild shoulder things. Someone would show up in my class with a shoulder injury, and then I would be a bit panicked, like thinking, oh my gosh, am I just going to get them to sit this out, or will I just teach anyway? So I feel like I've evolved as a yoga teacher to really teach to who is showing up. And this is where one of my classes came from. I teach gentle hips and shoulders yoga, and it's from people showing up with mobility issues or pain or discomfort or tightness in their hips and shoulders. So this is really about making classes for your students, and you might have people showing up who are really young and athletic. I don't have that in my area. I have people showing up that are my age and older usually, sometimes younger, but mostly people with mobility issues. So I really cater the yoga class to them. So an action for this one, number 4, is to review your past student sign-in form. So those of you who have already been teaching, take a look at your sign-in form, see who was there, and ask yourself, what does this group of people really need in terms of a yoga class? Now, you may not get the information looking at their names if you haven't been checking in with them a lot, or and no guilt here, because I've shown up and just taught a class as well, and sometimes we do that. But you could also survey your students by email, or you can connect with them and just say, I'm thinking of offering a new class, and here are 3 ideas that I have. Which one speaks to you? So you can ask your students and talk to them and find out what they would like. And number 5, I think that's as far as we're going to get today in part 1. Don't worry, there's a part 2 next week. Number 5 is define your niche. Now this is a really next to my heart kind of topic, so I could go on for a very long time here, but not to worry. February 27th, our Facebook Live is all about define your niche, and we're going to go into it a little bit more. This was really a game changer for me and not easy. So I felt like I want to offer yoga for everyone. And if you hear number 4, it's like inclusive classes for everyone. Teach to the people that are showing up. So then it feels like you want to make this big funnel. Like, I can teach children's yoga, and I can teach yoga for chair yoga for elderly people, and I can teach, and we keep doing this with teacher trainings as well. We see how many yoga tools we can get in our tool belt, which is fantastic. And then we want to start to look at, what am I really drawn to teach? Where do I feel really lit up teaching? What am I really curious about? And then how do I want to weave that into my yoga classes? So it can feel like you're funneling it in instead, and then you think, well, wow, I've closed this in so much that I'm only going to get this one particular group of students. So if, say, you decided that chair yoga was your thing, and you really want to share yoga with seniors, you might think, well, I'm now cutting off so much of the population. You might cut it down even further. You might say, I'm going to do a chair yoga class for men only. And then, do you see how this feels like you're cutting people out? That doesn't mean that people that are not seniors are going to show up to class, or that women might still show up to your class, unless you say it's a men-only class. But if you close this in a little bit more and you define your niche, it actually has the opposite effect. So, for instance, in my own yoga teaching, I was really passionate and really excited learning all about pelvic health. And I wanted to bring this more and more into my yoga classes, into my group classes. And I created yoga for pelvic health. And I thought, I don't know how many people are going to show up, but I'm just really excited to teach this. And it was one of my fullest sessions that I ran. And it's because it's a real passion of mine, and it shows. And people knew showing up, okay, I want to have good pelvic health, and so here I am at the class. That's the way they were showing up. Or I have pelvic health issues, and so I'm here to do yoga that is helpful for pelvic health. Sean says, I really learned how to focus when I decided to teach just one class a week. I couldn't teach everything anymore. I had to choose my one thing. Yeah, this is huge. Thank you, Sean, for sharing that. So, as scary as that sometimes feels, defining your niche is really important. If you are interested into diving in this a little bit further, so this information, this defining your niche, I've worked with this for a while, and honestly, it defines every decision I make, and I still have to go back and look at it. So for a while, my niche really was all the mama nurture work, and that was my main focus. And then things started to shift gears, and it started to be my consulting work. So mama nurture is still a part of it, and pelvic health is still a part of it, but I have this one main focus, and that's helping yoga teachers and yoga studios. Remember in this that every yoga teacher has unique gifts to share. So your students come to your classes because of you. They really connect with you. And those of you who have been to a yoga class, you know what it's like to feel the connection with a yoga teacher or to not feel it. And so this means, this is exciting for yoga teachers because you could take the same two classes and have two different teachers teach them, and they will be totally different because each teacher is going to teach in their own unique way. This is a real gift for our students, and this is a real gift for ourselves. So when students connect with those qualities, we want to really figure out what are those qualities that speak loudly to ourselves, so then we find those students that connect with us, and that we're finding that connection when we go to teach. So I've done a lot of work in this myself. I then developed a workshop that I taught in person, and now I've just put this workshop online. So for those of you who think, okay, I really want to dive into this, there's 3 hours, there's 2 different parts, they're an hour and a half each, and it's in March. I want to get the dates for you. Pretty sure it's March the 9th and the 23rd, if those are Thursdays. Sorry for I thought I wrote a note, now I realize I don't have my calendar in front of me. But there's other ways that you can go into this if you feel like, well, that workshop's a long ways away. Don't worry, we're going to go into Define Your Niche a little bit more in the Facebook Live on the 27th of February. So we're going to do a little practice together. And the action for this today, if you want to dive in right now, is that I'll post a link for a Define Your Passion post that's on my website. And this is where you make a list. So some of you have already done this work with me. This is some of the work that I do even when I help people design their website or to figure out what they want to be doing. Either what kind of yoga they want to be teaching, or are they meant to be teaching yoga right now? That's a really important question as well. So you take a piece of paper, just a blank piece of paper, and I explain it in the post, but I'll explain it here in the video as well. Split it down the center. This was inspired by a podcast that I listened to with John Lee Dumas. So you divide it down the center, and on one side you're going to put passion, and then I'd love for you to also put a little slash and then the word curiosity. And then on the other side of the division we're going to put skills / expertise. And the reason for that is because wording can sometimes trip us up, but we're going for the same idea on both sides. So we take this list and we start defining what are our passions or our curiosities on one side. So passion is a pretty fueled word. Elizabeth Gilbert has done some work with this, going against the word passion and leaning more towards the word curiosity. So if you think, I'm curious about chair yoga, or I'm curious about how the human body ages and how we can stay mobile, that might be one of your curiosities or your passions. But it could be something completely unrelated. So maybe you're really passionate about doing photography. And then on the other side is your skills or your expertise. So what did you do in school, and what have you learned at your jobs? Are you good at accounting? Are you skilled at speaking in front of crowds? Are you skilled with technology? Are you good at baking cookies? So it doesn't have to be something related to your job. You do this over 5 days, and it's fantastic if you can also reach out to those around you who have known you for a long time, or friends that you have now, and ask them, what do you think my passion, my curiosity is? What do you think my skills and expertise is as well? On the other side. For instance, when you ask other people, so I asked my kids this, what do you guys think that I'm skilled at? And my kids were like, you're good at looking after children. And I didn't have that on my list. Obviously, as a mom, I know how to do that. If you're feeling stuck with it, there's lots more in the article on my website, so I will post a link to that as well. And this is something that is required even if you do the workshop. So if you're thinking about taking the workshop with other teachers, then that's a fun way to connect as well. It's a 3-hour workshop, and we need to have this done before we go into it. So just because it takes 5 days to do it. Anything else that I could tell you guys about that? When you start to do this list of your passions and your curiosity, and on the other side your skills and your expertise, this is going to start to define like what work am I really drawn to do. And I want you to be careful not to define things that you think you should love doing. So I think I should love hosting dinner parties, but I don't do it because I don't really want to. I like the thought of it, but I actually don't do it. So, yeah. So let yourself off the hook for some things, and look at some things and say, like, did someone tell you at some point that you should be passionate about that? Also, if something starts to rise up in you and you think, well, I totally see the path I should be going with my yoga teaching, but someone else is doing it, remember that you are unique, and even if you took the same class plan, it would be totally different in how you teach it. So those are my I'll give you a bonus one today because we've made it this far. So number 6 would be consistent. And the best example I can think of for this is that every week I'm doing this Facebook Live video and people know and they can count on it. I put a schedule up and I'm being consistent. So that is one thing. Be patient with it. Keep going. Keep showing up for your students. I used to show up every week for Betty Welsh. She was my student. She's now a yoga teacher, so I want to give a little thank you out to her. And she was the one person, and she loved my class, and I really developed a lot of teaching skills, and really teaching skills for private sessions almost, because it was one-on-one. So keep showing up for your students, and you'll be surprised because it'll be like one day Betty and I were sitting there and the class was so packed that people were not able to get in and find a spot. So that will eventually happen if that's what you're striving for. So I also want to give you just another little update on the podcast, because I have the first 6 episodes are almost all to my editor, Rob. Thank you, Rob. Even though you're not on Facebook, I thank you, thank you, thank you. So the very first episode of the podcast is going to be by Erin Aquin. Can you see the book by Erin? The A to Z of Being a Successful Yoga Teacher. I love this book. And she's going to talk to us about how to avoid yoga teacher burnout. Episode 2 of the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast, you guys are only getting this list is available nowhere else, is Nina. Nina's a yoga teacher, and she's been really great to let me air a consultation with her on how to really strengthen an at-home practice and make it more meaningful. I'm excited about that. Episode 3 is Margaret Howard, who wrote an article for the HuffPost, and it's on trauma training, what every yoga teacher should know. That's an amazing episode. And then number 4 is a solo episode with me, how to assist your students without touching them. Number 5, I'm so excited because I just found out today that I'm able to air a coaching call that I had with one of my mentors, Natalie Ekdahl of bizchicks.com. And that's all about setting goals. So I was really excited to share it with yoga teachers because it's tremendous in how you can take your goals for your own yoga business and make them happen. I've almost hit my goal of getting 6 podcast episodes ready, so that's exciting. And then episode 6 is with Rosalind Kemmer, who you guys have seen on the Connected Yoga Teacher. If you're in our private Facebook group, she shared a beautiful practice for yoga teachers. So if you guys want to join our group, you can. And she talks to us about how to teach online private yoga classes. So that's really amazing. Thank you guys for tuning in weekly, whether it's the live video or it's the replay. Please add your comments and questions. Please feel free to share this with the yoga teachers in your world. Let me know if there's something that you feel like you need covered, a challenge that you're having, if you feel drawn to do that. And yes, thank you so much. So it's been quite a journey, and it's been an exciting one so far, and I am looking forward to part 2 of increasing class size. So let me know if you decide that you're diving into this and you're going to do those action steps. So again, I'm just going to summarize. The action is to set your hourly rate, choose your ideal class size, and write the student names down on a sign-in form. That was number 1. Number 2 is try a registered session if you feel led. Number 3 is create a Facebook event for your next yoga session. I just realized today that I don't have one for mine, so that's on my list as well, you guys. Number 4 is review your students and see what kind of yoga they really need or want. Talk to them, survey them, some way connect with them and find out what yoga suits them. And number 5, do a little bit of the define your niche. If you want to do the passion page, if you want to join the workshop with me online, Or if you want to book a consultation, if you feel like, I want to do that right away, you can book an 1.5-hour consultation. Those of you in our Connected Yoga Teacher private group, you know that there's a special Valentine's Day gift for all of you, and you get an hour free consultation after you book an 1.5 hours. So I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. Take care. Have a wonderful week. Namaste.